It's now time for our recruiting catch-up with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting, brought to you by the great folks over at Southmark Design. Southmark Design can help you build, brand, grow your business. Give Scott Smith and his team a call at 205-292-4680. That's Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Good morning, Hank. How you doing, sir?
Hey, good morning, Martin. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Hank, just kind of give us an update. Big commitment yesterday. Alabama, according to the kids' Twitter, and I'm not sure. You have to tell us how much Alabama was in on him and whether they expected him or not. But big offensive lineman choosing the Auburn Tigers yesterday.
Yeah, I think Alabama was definitely in on him. Jaden Roberts from North Shore High School in Houston visited for Junior Day back in February. He's been a guy that Bama has had a lot of interest in. I think on Bama's side, they would prefer, would have liked, to maybe see him camp, maybe see some senior season. Obviously, camps aren't happening this year, so you kind of have to go further beyond that if you want to see more of a evaluation or see more of him play. But he chose Auburn. I'm not, I couldn't 100% say Alabama didn't want to take him at this time, but I think they would have rather he waited to commit so they could get some more time evaluating him. But I think it's a really good pickup for Auburn. He's a really talented kid. I actually had a chance to see him once in person when I was visiting Damian George, the Alabama signee last summer. So big pickup for Auburn. Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma State were all in it for him. But Alabama obviously has some big name targets on the offensive line, so I don't think it's a huge hit to their efforts in that regard.
Speaking of offensive linemen, Jamie Brockmeyer, I always want to say the younger twin, but he's just he's the less recruited of the two, but still a highly ranked player in his own right, putting out his top 4 list, and there seems to be some momentum potentially around Alabama. What's the latest on the Brockmeyer brothers?
Yeah, everything kind of switched in geared towards Bama back in, late January, I want to say, maybe even a little bit before then. Tommy Brockmeyer, his twin brother, the 5-star tackle, put out his top 5 in December. Bama within it, of course. And then James, who had not yet been offered by Alabama, they visited again back to Tuscaloosa together for the February Junior Day. And James got an offer on that visit. And, they're not calling themselves a package deal. And, we've talked about that a lot, how, Bama doesn't do package deals. Like, everyone earns their own offer on their own merit. James he worked out for the staff last summer in Tuscaloosa, and they liked what they saw in terms of his development over the course of his junior season, enough to where that they wanted to offer him and make him a priority in the class. So James got his own offer in February, and that kind of really set things in motion in terms of Bama really holding momentum in both recruitment. Everyone, still, I think a lot of people still would, at least in the state of Texas, maybe would think they were, in and up at Texas. They have a lot of ties to the program. Their dad played there. Their older brother plays there. They live in Texas. So, it makes sense. But, Bama's done a really good job of recruiting them. I think, they've really kind of set themselves apart at this point in the process. The only thing I'm watching with this one is, if Texas has a really good season, if they have a bounce-back year and, potentially make the college football playoff or make noise in the Big 12, that maybe could sway them. I think they want to see more progress with Texas. But for now, I think Bama's in a pretty good spot to add both James and Tommy Brockmeyer to their class.
All right. That's Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Follow at Hank South, 247 Sports. Hank, Pat has a question for you. So, Hank, you're in with Hank South and Martin Houston. What's up?
Good morning, fellas. And I agree with Hank that Auburn's pickup wasn't any real big deal.
That's not what Hank said.
We've got a lot of players.
Pat, that's not what Hank said. Hank did not say that was not a good pickup. He said he said Auburn actually got a good. Hank, you got to watch Pat. He'll put words in your mouth, man.
But you remember what Hank said, though. Hank said we have other targets that we're more interested in. Thank you, sir.
That doesn't mean.
I promise you.
But Pat, that doesn't mean they're not good. He didn't say they weren't good. That's like saying Trevor Lawrence chose Clemson, so he wasn't good.
hey, that's exactly right. That's why we went out and got the best thing available in the state of California there, then Bryce Young.
Okay.
But anyway, I want to talk about wide receivers at the state of Louisiana. I think Brian Thomas Jr. or something like that. Will this finish up our wide receiver list if we could get him on board? Because it looks like Nick's going after bigger, faster, taller wide receivers. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that, it'd be a huge addition. I don't think I would finish the wide receiver class. Brian Thomas, he put out a top 4 the other night. Most think this race is Alabama LSU. I think that's pretty accurate as far as, where things stand. There's been optimism on the Alabama side, but obviously, he lives just a few minutes away from Baton Rouge. So the Tigers are pressing for him as well. So I think he's probably a guy that's probably going to make a decision probably later in the summer. I think he really wanted to take visits again, but that's looking increasingly slim in terms of being able to do that anytime soon. So I don't think I would finish the class. Bama, as much as they are recruiting these kind of big body wide receivers, which Brian Thomas is, along with Vijay Hall and Ja'Cory Brooks, they're still looking for that kind of Jalen Waddle type, in my opinion. Obviously we've seen how much of an impact he's made on their offense. So, there's other guys like Christian Leary, Mario Williams, who's not really, Mario Williams has some, Malcolm Johnson. For some reason, I keep calling him Mario.
Which one of those are the fastest one out of the state of Florida? There's one down in Florida that's an actual speed merchant, and his name escapes me.
Yeah, Christian Leary. He actually made news last night. He's been planning to make a commitment on June 6th for about a month now, and he tweeted that he's going to do it just whenever he's ready. And so I asked him what that means, if that means just at any time, or is that going to be after June 6th? And he said it'll be after June 6th. So, we'll see. Bama's right in there with him. Florida's in there with him. Auburn's even recruiting him pretty hard as well. So, June 6th, I was kind of surprised. It's his mom's birthday, so that's kind of a date of significance as to why he was going to announce him. He's actually set for June 6th and backed off and then reset it for June 6th. So who knows? Maybe in a week he resets it for June 6th. So he'll be a guy we're watching. And then Malcolm Johnson and then Xavier Worthy out of California. Those kind of like there's 3 real speed guys that Bama's recruiting pretty hard.
All right. Okay, though. All right. I look for Slade Bolton to have a really breakout year this year. I hope that, and he can show us why his name is Slash. All right.
Thanks.
Have a blessed day, fellas. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it, Pat.
Thank you. Keep up.
All right. Hank, let's transition over to maybe a need area for Alabama. If you look at, to me, we ended up getting a grad transfer at the tight end position from North Carolina, so that's a 1-year fix. And when you look at the top tight ends, Alabama doesn't appear to be like anybody's top choice or trending one way or the other. But is this a need area, and where is Alabama looking for tight end?
Yeah, it is a need area. They signed, like you said, they got the grad transfer in Carl Tucker, but he'll be there for 1 year, and they got Caden Clark from Ohio. So it'll be a position that they're looking at pretty hard in 2021. And yeah, so far there hasn't been a whole lot of movement. I will say outside, what's different from last year, when they kind of went all out for Eric Gilbert, and there really weren't many other tight ends we were talking about. I think they kind of, and of course, we all expected Eric Gilbert in the class, so for good reason they're focusing on him. And then, when Eric Gilbert chose LSU instead, they circled back, went after Darnell Washington, who they hadn't really even been recruiting since summer when Eric Gilbert started turning to Bama. So kind of a little late to that. Georgia had built momentum there, and then we saw them kind of just get left out of the prep rank, recruiting tight ends with Jacob Pegues choosing elsewhere, and then Brandon Frazier going elsewhere. So it's definitely an area that they're working on, expanding who all, they have interest in. So we've seen, a number of offers go out at the tight end position.
Okay.
I think the names that, we keep, there actually is a new name I probably should mention that we've been mentioning as far as a guy that he's a little bit under the radar. His name is Robbie Ouz. I don't even know how to say his last name. Ouz, from Rock Hill, South Carolina. He's a 3-star tight end, but, he got an offer back in February, and he did an interview recently with 24/7 Sports, and he talked about how there's a lot of interest there. He's never visited, so that's one thing we've got to watch. But definitely a name to keep an eye on. But beyond that, Hudson Wolf is a guy we've talked about forever. The Bama Ohio State race for him. Jermaine Terry, who's actually committed to Cal, but he talks to Bama probably multiple times a week still. But he's maintaining he's firm with Cal, but definitely still listening to Bama. We'll see if this massive wave of decommit season happens, which everyone's kind of anticipating as far as when bids can reopen. And then one of the top-rated tight ends, Thomas Padone, I think continue to be growing in interest. I think there. He tweeted the other day a picture of a graphic Bama sent him. We did an interview with him recently. He grew up a Nebraska fan, and that's where it's trending on the crystal ball. But one of our experts recently put a pick in for LSU, which you think, oh, of course LSU, but I think that almost shows more of a positive sign that he's looking at leaving home. He's from Iowa, so it's been Big Ten country as far as anywhere people have thought he's been leaning. So the fact that some think he might actually be willing to give an SEC a look, I think is a big deal. It's just a matter of getting him on campus for a visit before he makes a commitment. So I think Bama's right there in it with Thomas Padone as well.
Yeah, and when you look at those three guys, they all seem to be more of that not necessarily inline type of guy. Is Caden Clark seems to be more of that, Hale Hinges type, and all the guys, the Fadone, Terry, and I think he said Outs, however you say it, they all seem to be more of the kind of tight end that they can block inline, but they're not the big body tight end. Is that more of those three guys that you mentioned? Is their game more of the receiving type of tight end, like Gilbert was?
Yeah, I think they all are a great blend of everything. And they actually offered recently another tight end that's committed to Missouri, and these tough names at tight end. Ryan Hoerstkamp. I talked to him too, and he said, when he talked to the staff, it was, they just raved about, how he does everything well, both in line and splitting out and being able to catch the ball. So, that kind of seems to be the ticket there as far as interest in tight ends.
All right, that's Hank South 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, what other news do we have? Any other commitment news coming or anything out there that we as Bama fans need to be looking for?
Yeah, today's a big day. Ian Jackson is announcing his commitment. He told me about 11:30 this morning, so we'll see. I would say between 11 and 12. You never know. Commitment announcements can take a minute sometimes. But Bama's been trending there. Auburn's in it for him. Oklahoma, Florida State, Georgia, I'm sorry, not Florida State, Oregon, and Georgia are all kind of his finalists. But Bama's been kind of appears to be in the driver's seat heading into today. We'll see. He's going to announce his decision on Twitter. So that's a big linebacker target. He actually told me Bama was also recruiting this kind of a money position as well. So definitely a versatile player from within the state of Alabama that Bama's hoping to add later today.
Yeah, need to keep those guys at home. That'd be huge. So we'll be watching that, and hopefully we'll be covering some good news next week. All right, Hank, tell our listeners where they can find you and what you got coming up, man.
Yeah, you can find us on BamaOnline.com, and it's a really good day to sign up. We're doing a 75% off promo. If you sign up today, that's 35% off your first year. So really, really good rate to lock in for the next 12 months. Obviously, news is going to pick up. It has been for the last month in terms of recruiting, and obviously, Bama only having 5 commitments. There's plenty of news to come as the class fills out. So BamaOnline.com, and then my Twitter is @HankSouth247.
All right, that's @HankSouth247. Thanks, Hank. We'll catch up with you next week.
No problem. Thanks, Norm.
All right, coming back on the other side, we'll put the finishing touches on this edition of the Martin Houston Show, and we'll get back to that quarterback conversation. We can get you in on it. We got a few comments we want to get to on Facebook. If you want to get in on it, 205-342-9904.